So this is the first one, which if you got mainly A's or if you had some A's in that, this is the activist. And so frequently found on the front lines of environmental and social protest, the activist spends a lot of time and energy keeping up with the latest developments in climate news. As a result, the activist is knowledgeable, passionate, and not afraid to stand up for a cause. Activists can put a lot of pressure on themselves to keep showing up and become overstretched. Fighting for a cause and internalizing a sense of urgency can put the activist nervous system into a place of fight or flight. Frustration and anger at the resistance of other people and systems to change can feel and contribute to a sense of failure. And it can feel like what the activist does just never feels like enough. The activists can have a tendency to identify very personally with a campaign. So when a campaign comes to an end, they may experience a loss of identity. So for any activists out there, there's a bit of love. Next we have the invested. This is mostly B's. The invested person may consider themselves more like average mainstream than the activists, but find themselves engaging and watching the news with anxiety and concern. Might be more politically engaged or vote for change in a different way. But for the invested, climate is personal. You may have really specific concerns and be motivated by something in your life, like protecting those that you love or finding safety in your own situation. And especially, for example, those affected by recent wildfires or flooding, this makes it really personal. And then that generates strong emotions associated with this. The investor can feel very deeply. So if there are challenging climate conversations, take that really to heart. Next, we have the leader. So someone who lives and breathes climate action, if you're mostly C's, they understand the bigger picture and find themselves in a professional community leadership roles. The leader tries to do everything in their power to gain a sense of control, as impacts seem to spin increasingly out of control and into chaos. Overwhelm and burnout amongst leaders is really high. I saw a statistic at the moment that says that 88% of professionals have experienced burnout in the last 2 years. So whether you identify as a leader or not, some of this might be an issue for you. You can be pulled in lots of different directions, holding multiple perspectives and personas, like different hats for different situations, but that's really energy draining. And the leader's passion for work can make it difficult to untangle their sense of self and personal identity from everything that they do. And here I have mostly D's, is the overwhelmed. Look, picture of a little guy and his kids there. Overwhelm is a natural response to a scary situation, and I believe we all have parts of us that seek safety by disengaging from a difficult agenda. So it may be just a part of climate action that just doesn't resonate for you, and just looking at that with a bit more compassion, we can look upon denial and resistance with a bit more compassion when we understand its role in other people too. The overwhelmed likes black or white answers and can find this systems-wide climate perspective like really frustrating. And not wanting to know is a form of self-protection. It might be a short-term effective coping mechanism, but in the long term, it can lead to a sense of disconnect from self, lack of alignment with personal values. So just take a moment to consider if there's any specific part of the climate agenda that you haven't been able to engage in and whether that sits with D, the overwhelmed there. Any thoughts, any reactions? In some of the workshops I've run, it's been the whole spectrum, which has been really interesting. It hasn't been mainly A's, maybe D's or whatever. It's been people either feeling very specific one of them or a mix of all of them, but there's been a really big range of responses. Wow. So one to take away with you. And again, you'll get the links to this survey and the description for the personas. And very soon I'll be sending out the link to a workbook too, if that is helpful for you. But just a moment to recognize really that climate is systems wide. It pops up everywhere. In finance, in energy, in transport, in the economy, in food systems, in agriculture, in biodiversity, in nature. But for me, that means that there's opportunities everywhere. And to avoid that becoming overwhelming, just having a look at how we're showing up can be really powerful.